Hello everyone. Today we'll have podcast in English. And we have two cool guests, not host in Czech, guests, and we have Daniel here. Hello, and also Richard. Before we start, can you please say few sentences about you, what you are doing, and yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Danny. I'm working for SentinelOne as a Devops engineer, and I used to work as a DevOps consultant, and I worked in many companies, big and small, and I have a lot of stories from those days that I love to share with you.
So my name is Richard. I'm also a DevOps engineer, and I'm working for the same company, SentinelOne, as Danny. And I'm still a organizer of the Prague DevOps meetup. And before that, I was a developer. So that's my story.
Okay, and today's podcast will be, or Dan share with us his fuck ups or his maybe lesson learned.
Fuck ups is a strong word, but I will say like incidents that I've seen and what we learned from them.
Yeah, thank you for correct me. And yeah, so let's start with first one, which you would like to share.
Yes, I would love to share that. First one is a personal story about me. I was hired as a DevOps consultant to a small startup, and I did some work for them. And one of the things that they requested of me is, how can we save cloud cost? So as an experienced DevOps engineer, I immediately knew the answer. You are wasting a lot of money on your S3 storage bucket. And I said, you have 1 million objects on there, like seriously, 1 million objects on the S3 storage. You're paying premium for them. We can move them to other storage access, and you pay 10% of what you're paying right now. Now, I want it to be done automatically, so immediately I wrote a lifecycle policy that after 30 days it goes to vStorage, after 90 days it goes to Glacier storage. All worked perfectly. Everything that I was planning, I communicated to the customer, they approved it, I communicated to the contractor, everybody was happy with it, they got approval, we moved on. It was applied, nothing happened, everybody's happy. Then I wake up next morning, 5 a.m., 3 missed calls on my phone, and I'm like, what happened? The site is down, it's not working. So what happened is, when we moved the storage to Glacier, nothing could access it anymore, because after 90 days, it's moved to infrequent access, like Glacier. But the website of the customer required those static files, pictures, JavaScript files, things like that, but it couldn't find anymore. So now anytime a client wanted to come to a website, it got 404 not found. And now here's the thing about S3 storage. It's really easy moving things into Glacier. You can do it in a bulk. You say, move the whole bucket into Glacier, but to restore the object, you have to do it one by one. And as I previously said, there were 1 million objects in there.
1 million objects. And can you share with us how many money you save by this change?
I think we saved them around $10,000 a month for the company. Yeah, it was again, 1 million objects cost a lot, but when we did the mistake, it cost them a lot more in restoring that, because then I created I would say a tiger team, a team of other DevOps consultants that work with me in the same company, and we spent 2 days creating scripts to restore the objects, and the scripts were in Bash and running parallelism, and we restored 1 million objects in 2 days, maybe 3, let's say 72 hours, and everything was okay. But again, 72 hours, the website was down, and the worst thing that happened is the client lost his trust in me. I couldn't continue working with this client because he wouldn't trust me to do anything anymore. So after we had that, I sat down with my boss at the time, my team leader, and we started talking about what happened. And I was scared because I cost the company a contract. but nobody blamed me. Nobody was blamed for anything there. The thing that we talked about is what did we do good? We talked about how we communicated our change to the customer, how we saw the problem and everybody got around to it as quickly as possible. And yes, we talked about the things that were to blame, like we didn't know enough about S3 storage, and we didn't have a rollback plan, or how when you make a change, such a big change, do it gradually. Don't do it all storage at the same time. These are things that were wrong in the action, but I was not blamed for that. And because other people in our team saw me doing this big mistake, and we talked about it, and we said what's going good and what's going bad, and everybody felt a little more secure in what they're doing. They felt that their action, as long as they can prove that their actions are in good intent and are communicated properly, they can do what they feel is right without fearing the repercussions if something goes wrong. And that's what I really love about a blameless culture, because it gives you security in owning up to your mistakes and learning from it.
Yeah, I think from your experience or from like the company experience, you have a lot of lesson learned and also some next steps you can do to in future, right? To avoid these mistakes. And I would like to ask, did you have some staging environment, and if when you do these migrations?
Yeah. So no, at that time, at the company that I worked with had only one account, and they remind me of a sentence that I heard that is really relevant. It says all companies have a dev environment and a production environment.
Okay.
In some companies, there are different environments. So in this case, the dev environment and the production environment was completely the same. All the three buckets were in one account. So when we did the change, we did it on everything at once. And yes, account separation is really important, but again, one of the lessons that we learned from that is go gradually. There's no rush. Always test things on a small batch at first.
And also, you should have ready some rollback plan.
Exactly, yeah. It's something that I took as a personal lesson from that day, and everything that I'm doing from there is always how can we roll back as quickly, or if not, what's the cost of a rollback?
Okay. Richard or Richard? How I should call you?
You can use Richard too.
Richard too, okay.
It's more English.
Yeah, understood. Would you like something add or something mention about this topic?
Yeah, there were like a lot of obvious risk from the beginning, but the thing that they have a website that is running from S3, nobody mentioned to you, right?
No, that information was not mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But in retrospect, it should have been something that I would have researched before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as I said, I had 1 million objects there, and I never asked myself, what are these objects? What are they being used for? And that's also something, we are not always aware of the repercussions of our actions. And something that I can add to that, like as DevOps engineers, we have huge power in the company, and we should be aware of the blast radius of our actions, which it always helps us in our work.
Yeah, I remember some fuck up right now, what I did, and I don't know what was the lesson learned. So maybe I find it like during the speech, but we did some migration, some database migration with some data, and I worked at like shipment company, and we had like millions of shipments in database, and we would like some put to archive or move to archive. because there was a lot of rows in the database, and also there is a lot of like connections to other tables. So you don't just put like data from one table, but you should migrate like 20 dependencies from other tables. And we were starting run these migrations, and we also migrate like real shipment, and some people started call me like, some customers would like to have their package, but they cannot because system writing not found, and like, I say, hey, stop the script. Stop the script. We have really huge problem right now, and the same lesson learned. We had not the rollback plan, so we wrote the reverse script in 50 minutes and tested on the test environment and ran the production. It worked. And we saved everything, but yeah, it was also we didn't have the prepared the rollback situation. We believe it will be work. We tested on the test environment, everything worked, but on the production, also it was really big SQL script, and nobody know why it didn't work, but yeah, it's happened.
So I have a question about that story. The change that you did, the migration, was it communicated? Was it clear for everybody that you were doing it?
Yeah, good question. It was communicated for business guys and also for IT departments, but it wasn't communicated on the branches. And yeah, good point.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
So it also lesson learned. And third lesson learned, I guess, or not I guess, I think it's don't do it at afternoon. Do it at night, this kind of preparation. So yeah.
Also, never do it on the weekend.
Yeah, or on Friday. Yeah, it's why the Germans lost worldwide too, because they are they were releasing on Friday. So
haven't heard that joke before.
Yeah. Okay, so I think right now we can move to second one.
To the second story. Yes,
Yeah.
I would love to tell this story. Actually, this story is it's not my personal fuck up or deep to blame. It's a story of a company that I used to work for. Now, this company had many websites. This website took personal information of all the users. So because they took personal information like name, address, phone number, they had to use HTTPS to secure the information that everybody's taking. And as I said, they had many websites, different domains and things like that, so they had many certificates. So when the company started, someone in the company, I have no idea who because he was long gone by then, wrote a simple cron job that runs once a day, checks the expiration date of the certificates, and if it needs a renewal, it sends a message and renews the certificate. For years, everything was working as expected. The cron job was working, it was sending out messages that it was working, it sent emails, it renewed certificates, everybody was happy. Over time, personnel shifted. People left the company, new people joined, and everybody forgot that the cron job was working at all. And the first thing that happened with the cron job is we changed the logging system. So the logging system that worked before, it was outputting to STDs, somebody was taking, everything was good, and then we moved to a different one, and the logs disappeared. The cron job is working. It was renewing certificates, but nobody was monitoring it. So far, not so bad, everybody's still happy, right? Then, another day, it tried to renew the certificate, but the API of the certificate authority changed, so it couldn't renew certificates. Then it tried to send messages about, hey, I'm unable to renew certificates. And go on and on and on, and nothing happened, nobody noticed because we didn't see the logs. Until one day, all the certificates expired. and people were logging into the system. And this was a big company with a lot of users, and they were blasting them emails, come, join our website, give us information, we'll do the thing for you. And people were coming in, and they said, the first thing they were saying is, this website is not secure, this certificate is not authenticated. And it's a huge problem for the company. Trust was lost in that moment, a lot of trust. Now, the problem was that it was a compounded error because both the certificates weren't working and we weren't aware why they were not working. So the first thing we were doing is like, let's look at the logs. We have no logs. Let's fix the logs. So that's the first thing that we had to do. We had to first fix the logs. Then we had to deploy the system again. We saw that the logs weren't working. We saw from the logs what wasn't working, just a simple API. It took us exactly 2 minutes to redeploy, and everything was back again. But an incident that should have taken 5 minutes took 3 hours for us to first understand what is the problem, second to understand what process was responsible for the problem, then trying to identify that. And you see, a lot of steps were in the middle here. And we can seriously say that nobody is to blame here, because whoever did that cron job and went away is already out of the company.
And the API, you have some public one like for Let's Encrypt, or you had some internal one?
No, it was a public API.
Public API.
Yeah, I think GoDaddy or something like that. I'm not sure.
And it was changed, like the URL was changed, right?
Yeah, they updated the API. You have to remember that it was a process that was written like 10 years before the incident happened. And companies change their API all the time. And you have to be on top of it, you have to be aware of it. And you have to take also, don't take anything for granted.
And also have some alert systems, like if it's not happening, right? The
Yeah.
updating. And what was the lesson learned?
Oh, we had a lot of lessons learned from that, but the first one that we wanted to ask ourselves is, how many cron jobs do we have? How many of them are running? What are they all doing? And we discovered hundreds of cron jobs across all machines. Half of them weren't running at all, just standing in the middle. So we decided to run all cron jobs with a certain flag that says I'm starting and then I'm stopping, so we know what's running. And then we just had the task, the Devops team had the task of sitting down, identifying each cron job, what it's doing, is it supposed to be doing it, maybe it's redundant. So that was a lot of wasted effort. I wouldn't say wasted effort, but it was definitely a job that should have been done much sooner. And another thing that we noticed from that is email notifications are ignored by everybody. If you have any process that warns you by sending you emails when you have a daily inbox of 1,000 mails plus, nobody's going to notice that. So a lesson I think we can all learn from that is fail loudly. When something fails, don't just say, hey, I'm here, I'm not working yet. Shout at the top of your lungs, stop working, try breaking things so somebody will notice that something is failing.
So Richard, I ask you, like...
So yeah, there are a few patterns that I noticed that I also work within a company that had the reporting system using emails, and it was sending to one email address. It ended up that it consumed all the 10 gigabytes of the mailbox of this email address after some years, and it was inaccessible. So I think everyone knows this story. Another tool which was kind of new for me, and now it's the one that is hated. It's called PagerDuty, and people are on call. So if there is some problem, they are being paged, and they need to respond in 30 minutes or something. And this is the loudest possible problem. And the thing is that it can be also misused. And if the communication is not set clearly and the incident process is not defined, it can lead in a lot of lost sleeps and other things. And another problem was that if somebody is leaving the company, they should document what they did and what, yeah.
And it's my question.
Yes.
It's my question because from my previous experience, I had the same problem with the crons, and nobody knows nobody knows how it works, and when some people left the company, like we had some documentation, but this documentation like doesn't help or didn't help. It didn't help. Yeah, it's just like a lot of words, but about nothing, and like. We had to start like go cron by cron exactly and check the code and what exactly it's doing, and it's my question. It's hard to say, but is it like, or does the documentation save us?
It's the same. It's the same as the cron job. So if the person who wrote the documentation is no longer in the company and there is no ownership of this documentation, it's just lost information somewhere.
I think documentation can save us if it's properly processed. I think like we have rubber ducky processing for writing function, we should have rubber ducky for documentation. Write the documentation, then read it aloud, see if it makes sense to you. Have somebody else also review documentation. Documentation is a living object. It should be read by everybody and edited by everybody if it's not understandable. Do you agree with that? With that?
Yeah, and I would add that it should be in one system, not 10.
Yes,
or
yes,
more
definitely.
than one. And there should be also some way how to remove the old pages if they are. The other problem is too many of pages on the same thing. So I was working in a company when they have a documentation, and the documentation was written by different teams because the ownership were shifted, and there was some evolution. So there were a lot of versions of this documentation. So it took a few days to just find the latest one, which is most accurate, and then also to check every paragraph if it's true and if it matches the reality.
Yeah, it is my point. Like, you can have documentation, but again the question if it's really help, because from my experience from companies, like when the developer wrote the documentation, a lot of time they duplicated some cases what already used in the code, and from my point of view, what is a little bit better than documentation is have some standards how to write the project. I mean, like about the make file, about write what exactly is commands, like make up, make down, also GitLab jobs, write with good description, and also some hexagonal architecture, or have some at least some architecture in the code. And yeah, so I think like when you will have some when you will have project with these rules, it's like for other developers or for newcomers will be more easier to start with them because he already know where they start. Also good readme. For me it's like good readme is must have.
Yes, but what happens if a company acquires another company and they come with their own culture, and then you are used to one way of coding the code, one way of doing the documentation, and rather there's a whole other company that forces this culture on you. And I can say that one thing that I tried before with the team that I had, as we tried each week when we finished the project, is to do a 5-minute demo on it, a video demo, and then upload the video as a documentation. It's a lot more in storage, but as I say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so a video is like so many pictures. I think it really succeeded in helping people understand, also help the developer itself be more clear on what he's describing, because he has to talk to a video and some sort of rubber ducky process is happening here, but it's also saved for later and people can always view it and see what happens. It's a process that I see starting in some companies. I hope it takes more, it's being more in demand right now.
Or maybe question, also on you, Richard. What do you think? What is the best practice like to to write documentation?
Well, there is no best practice, but at least there are some communities. One of the topic I found recently is called Devops.
Devops.
It's a branch of Devops, and it's for technical writers who are responsible for the documentation in the whole company. There are a lot of videos about it. It's very new, and basically it's putting together all the people in different teams to get because everybody in the company in different departments has a different perspective of the same thing. They sometimes use different names for the same thing, but if they talk together with different team, they don't understand each other because they have different names for the same thing. They see different things, so some of the parts of the application is not visible, like the certificates. It was invisible because it was automated, so nobody knows about it. And they also use different approaches when create new stuff. So some of the teams, they don't write any documentation at all. It's called mortgage-driven development. So when people have mortgage, they don't want to be fired, and if there is documentation, they can be fired.
Okay.
And it's really a very frequent case, and the name mortgage development is just like how to call it. It's not definite as a standard. It's more like a joke.
Good joke.
Yeah, but it's happening, and every company has somebody who is using this methodology and is very successful and never cannot be fired.
I think the same story, or it's a little bit reflected on the GitHub. When you go through the repositories on the GitHub, a lot of them like have really huge documentation, and some of them just like one page, and that's all. So
I don't want to write anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best approach is what the open source is using, open source community, Linux, and other sort of projects. And the thing is that if you want to be a developer and you want to learn how to code, you can join this project, and you need to learn the culture, and then you need to learn how to write the documentation, and the documentation has to be perfect. So you are starting with some level, and you are getting higher and higher, and getting ranks, and getting better, because it's nothing more difficult than write documentation for something that you not get paid for.
Yeah, in our team we are writing documentation about the business stuff or business domain, like why we are doing some things like that, and all technical stuff like run the service, monitoring, where the links, everything we are writing the README file. And
Markdown.
yeah.
You don't have a central confluence like system?
We have, but we try like separate like what the business stuff or why the system behavior like this, and the technical stuff we are writing the README file where we have like every links, where is the Kubernetes monitoring, how to find something, etc.
I have to say that one of the things that I like about the new AI age is that systems like Confluence can be easily read and aggregated by AI-like systems like Glean right now, which is I love working with personally. And I think it's something that we can do in a README file, because you can't have an AI machine learning thing just read through all the READMEs and give you that. So I think that's a really big limitation with the README. Maybe we should maybe duplicate it to somewhere that can be read.
So the Glean is the kind of integration system for documentation. It's reading Confluence, it's reading Jira, it's reading Slack, it's also shared documents from Google Docs, OneDrive, and it has simple search.
How it's called? Sorry.
Glean. Glean.
Glean documentation. Documentation
Yeah,
service.
I think that it cannot index README files in Markdown. It's just like a gap on the market. So if you know how to do it, you can be rich very fast.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
Well, it's really easy because in
It's Glean.
You Glean.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Glean. Ah.
GL.
EA. Okay.
EA.
Okay. clean hashboard. Yeah, it's correct.
Uh,
BI that we'll make now will.
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
I was
Okay.
using a lot of open source tools that were just indexing files in my directory. JetBrains is very popular because in their ID you have also full text search for the code.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, and there is one
We're working for enterprise versus startup.
I opened just pricing page and like.
not cheap.
Yeah.
And there is also a tool that is provided by a small team in Czech Republic, and it's indexing source codes. It's not AI, but they are using it in Solaris, in Oracle, and they have security vulnerabilities, and there are basically patterns how this vulnerability looks like, and the code is written in C, and they have different versions of Solaris and other Linuxes, and when they fix it in one place, they use this tool called Grok to look it up in, or Open Grok to look it up in every other branches or repositories, because it's just a copy paste.
Cool. Okay, so I think about the documentation topic, we already said everything.
Yes.
Or if you would like say something more about that topic.
I think we're good on that topic. What I wanted to say is that it's very important, related to the incident that I talked about before, about the production incident for the whole company, is the great thing that happened from that is after we had the incident, the whole company from the CTO level knew that we had to do a sit down, do a proper post-mortem, and they said, we are not leaving this meeting until we have at least 3 action items on how we can fix this issue in the future that we won't happen to it. So we had action items on how to fix the cron jobs, and action items on the logging system and things like that. But it's really amazing to see a company, a big company, immediately change direction, immediately change its priorities because it has an incident. We were lucky this time. Maybe we won't be lucky next time. Let's do some actions.
Okay, so let's assume like we have some production incident, big one, and after that you sit together and how to say you have to write at least 3 points what you should do, what you should approve or not approve, what you should
Follow up.
Yeah, follow up, and what you will do like or what we need to do if these 3 topics are pretty big and take a lot of time, and also you have some really important things what we need to do for business. So what will be the priority in this case?
That's why these kind of meetings have to be done with all levels of the company,
Okay.
the CTO and the business partners. Everybody was aware of what happened, the risk. You also have to specify the risk and the business impact that happened because of that incident. Because some project managers, when are not technical, say, "Oh, okay, so a certificate was out." And we told them, yes, certificate was out, but think about it. People went into the website. They saw the website wasn't secure. They won't come back again. If they will tell their friend, they won't come again. So once all the project managers understood the impact and it's communicated, you had a lot more support from all levels to, as I said, change priority. So as a DevOps engineer, I'm not in charge of the priority. Thank God for that. But once that is decided, and we can say, we can mitigate it right now. We can have long-term plans to fully solve it in the next quarter. That's up to the manager to decide. Your responsibility is explaining the impacts as clearly as possible.
I like the idea like when because for me something new when we had the production incident, like in this meeting will be attend like people from all departments. So for me it's like something interesting because in my experience there just was, there just were technical guys. Like yeah, would happen technical stuff, and after that, like we make some decision what we will do. After that, the POs come to business and say, okay, we have their priority stuff and etc. But this is a good idea to do it like in one meeting.
Yeah. Also, it's important to publish your findings to the whole company, because we all know that if a production incident happens in team A, it can also happen to another team a week later, and if they are on top of the publications, of the notifications, of kind of things, they can mitigate an issue very quickly.
And how you propagate this information? Do you have some like Slack channel or some Microsoft Teams channel, and they're like all company, and you put this message to this channel? Yeah.
Yeah. What we had in that company is we had a dedicated production incident Slack channel, and it was a very hard job to keep that channel as clean as possible. So we said you can only say that there is an incident going on and then direct people to another channel where the incident communication is going on, or you can publish findings about current incident. But and everybody had to be on this channel, and everybody had to get notification on this channel, because if a production incident is happening, even if it's not on your team, you gotta know about it. And if you have findings of a production incident, even again not your product, be aware of it. It may affect you.
Before we will go to a third lesson learned, I would like to ask one more question about the communication channels policy in companies.
Yeah.
Because we are also like struggling with some how to say, with some like improvements and with some misunderstandings, and like when you have a lot of channels, or when some people like spam you a lot. Do you have some good experience how to have like very good culture about the channels, and like to have the communication have like clean as possible?
I can say one thing about that really struck me is when I was in a previous company, a developer asked a question in one of the channels, and the chief architect of the company told him, that is a stupid question. And I immediately went to my boss and he took it to the CTO and told him, you have to talk to the chief architect. He cannot say that kind of thing in a Slack channel. He can think it to himself, but the communication in Slack has to be respectful.
Yes.
If somebody asks a question, it probably is really, it does not, it's not a stupid question. And because of what happened, because I talked to the CTO, the chief architect for the company, he published an official apology to the developer, and I said, no, I woke up really early, and whatever happened, it never happened again. Everybody was very respectful from that day.
Because stupid question, it doesn't exist, right? Because next time, if some newcomer or another person would like to ask something and they saw what happened, so say, okay, no, I will not ask. Better for me.
And they will do whatever they want, and nobody will know about it.
Yeah. Would you like to say something about the channels, or would you like to skip this topic?
Yeah, I had an experience today when I was solving something with one guy, and then we find that we need a third guy, and it was not in a channel, it was the direct message. So we create a group direct message on Slack, and then we find that we need to have a third guy, so we created another group chat, and then we mentioned the fourth guy, and it was almost the whole team. So it was kind of deja vu of this team communication. So it's better to say something in the whole team, on the team level, than using the direct messages or private messages, because you never know who would need to know it. And this message will be only visible to you and the other party, but later on it will be useful if it's searchable with the Green or other application.
Yeah.
So use Slack as a documentation and have some like at least 3 levels on which to communicate to the team, to the department, and to the whole company.
I agree. We have the same experience. We have like we have abundant users when you join another person, and like in your direct messages list you have like 50 50 open conversations. Yeah, so we are also doing the channels. So I think it's good way how to do it.
I always try to tell people, when people ask me questions in private, I always tell them let's move it to a channel.
Yes.
I want other people to see the questions, and I also, when people ask these questions, I say, good question, keep them coming. Really try to enforce this kind of behavior. But more of a Slack behavior, I say we should try always to enforce a conversation to happen in threads and not across all channels. And another topic interesting about that is when you have teams in different time zones, like in Czech Republic and the US, sometimes you want to try to send a message to the US team, but by the time they get the message, another 20 messages happen below that. So it's kind of a miss. So I don't have a good solution for that one.
It's called Jira ticket.
Okay, so yeah, so maybe if you share with us the third one lesson learned, please.
The first story, yes, I will tell the first story. So I was working as a Devops in a very, very small startup. It was like less than 10 people, and it was back when AI was still a really nice buzzword, but still wasn't as big as it was today. And we had an AI team and a data team, and they had a lot of work that had to be done, and I was the only DevOps guy around. So that's a lot of things, and instead of doing it for them, I kind of showed them how to do it, but I never explained the why I'm doing some things. So what happened is they wanted access to their GPU machines because the AI models and in GPU, and it happened during the Corona the Corona time, so they worked from home. They wanted to open the security groups to their machines. One of them looked up how to open a security group to his personal computer, and he found out that he can put the address of 0000, and it will open for the whole team, which is right, it's correct. It opened it to the whole team, and he applied it. We had no monitoring on it. I didn't check it, and we didn't see what happening. But then we started seeing the billing for the GPU machines, and they were quite high. And so I logged into the machine and I started finding out what's happening, and we found some nice Bitcoin miners was using our GPU to mine some Bitcoin for themselves. And they were spinning up more and more machines, and it was the billing on us. And the first thing that I asked is, how did you get onto the machine? Oh, the firewall is open to everyone. Okay, but you also have an SSH key. Oh yeah, we put that one on Dropbox because we wanted to share it with the team, the SSH key. So that was shared as well. So immediately, of course, we closed the machines, and I sat down with the team and asked them why did we do this thing. They said, oh, we just wanted the access and wanted it as easily as possible. And then I understood that it's not important only to tell people how to do things. You have to really harness the power and get them to work with you by understanding why we do some things. Because the people we work with, the people we hire, they're smart people. If you told them you can't go path A, they will find a way to go to path B. As long as they get to the target, they're happy. But if you tell them why you can't go to path A, you can tell them, look, you can't open the security group because it's a risk factor, because crypto miners will use our machines and we will pay the bill, they will understand it, and they will find the ways to do what they want, but they will work with you.
Sorry, you killed me. That someone spam machines for crypto.
Yeah.
because we are joking about that, but right now I heard the story about who really did that. So yeah.
So you're not the guy who did it.
No.
Yeah, but I think it's really always important to work in a collaborative environment between DevOps and developers. Once you harness their unimaginable power of imagination and their knowledge, and they will work with you, you will find that instead of being the gatekeeper, you have the time to do whatever you want to do, and they will protect you on their own. So that's kind of my point here. Collaborative.
So Richard, you have word because sorry, I don't take
This is a kind of funny because they opened the access to everyone, and it was also in cloud, and it was also expensive. So how big it was the bill?
The bill was in the
Thousands?
yeah in the hundreds of thousands in the end. Yeah.
100,000
Yeah, it was a six-figure bill for a month for AWS.
in dollars.
Yeah. Luckily, we had a chat. We talked with AWS at the time, and they were able to give us credit for some of the machines back. AWS are very understanding of these kind of things, and they want to keep the clients happy. They know we're good. They know we're going to keep it. So they credit us for most of the money, but we definitely learned a lesson from that.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah, Richard, sorry.
Yes, I heard this that if you do this with any technology and in any cloud, you should first ask and explain that it was a mistake and if there's a way how to get the money back. And in 9 of 10 cases, they will give you at least the credits, so you will spend the money later on something more useful.
Mm. And how, if I understand correctly, it was done by someone like from IT, right?
There wasn't an IT. I was the DevOps and IT again. We're talking about a very small company.
Okay.
But the data team had control over their machines, and they had the privilege to allow that access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. I think.
On that note,
Yeah. I'm totally done with this crypto and like and 100,000 bill.
yeah, 100,000 bill. Again, most of it was given back in credit by AWS. So thank for them because they know we're a good client. And the lesson learned from that is again, sit down with your developers, and I think we can get back to the first lesson that was communication. Because if the data team would have said in Slack, by the way, we are opening the security to 000. Oh, by the way, we're putting the SSH key in here. I would have noticed that. I would have would have jumped on it as well.
So I will ask, what is, from your point of view, guys, what is the best setup or the best way how to do communication between developers and DevOps, when DevOps guys, I don't know, create some new tool, new service, or new way how to do things. What do you think? What is the best way to put also this ownership to make this stuff also on developers? Because you has a scenario, the guys or DevOps guys prepare, I don't know, maybe some, let's say, service catalog or something, and say to Slack channel, okay guys, you have service catalog, so please use it. It's very easy, it's very cool, it brings these benefits, yes. But after 1 month, you see nobody cares, and the DevOps guys work really hard and bring some new features, also some features to Kubernetes and another stuff, but nobody cares. And what is your advice how to figure out this situation?
I think.
Yeah, I would say that this is not only the communication problem, it's also that it's not one company. It's like different teams that they are doing something, but they don't have common goals. So in Czech we have the saying that you're pulling rope, but in different directions. The thing is that they don't have the same priorities, and it's on the basically managerial level. So it's a good opportunity if you are working in some company like this, you can become manager and you will be good manager because you can fix the problems of the managers. So the problem is called you need to talk to the teams, find their priorities, find priorities with other teams and try to compare them if they are completely different, and then ask what is the purpose of the company, what is the purpose of the product, and what are the problems of the customers. So the customers should come first, and then the profitability of the company should come second. So happy customer will pay more money, and this is going like the chicken and egg. So if you don't have happy customers, you will not have profit, and you cannot give bonuses to the teams. So the end goal should be to get better bonuses, higher salaries, and that's what was the previous message, was to start with why. Communicate why you need to do this first.
Simon Sinek.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to just say that I think most services that we Devops create are there to solve the pain of the developer teams. So find out what the pain is and tell them, hey, you want this pain solved? Use my new system, because I'm not gonna help you support the old system. And because people try to avoid pain actively, more and more teams will move to the new product. Just bring the pain to them, and that's the perfect. Say, hey, you want to be on Kubernetes? Yeah, move to this system, because I'm going to support you in there. I'm going to support you in the old system. And the same with logging and things like that. And as you can see, because we're not forcing people, just giving them the options between two of them, most people will go our way.
I like the answer. Yeah, and also because it's I saw this pattern in a couple of companies, and I would like also ask you, and I hope someone will from managers will listen to this podcast and say, oh yeah, it's my fault, and maybe I should do something in different way. And regarding I have also a good question, and maybe I think it's really not active topic, popular topic, or maybe it's happening to a lot of companies on these days. A lot of companies are right now have started to migrate to clouds, yeah, and they also figure out or struggling like, okay, we have some servers on-prem, and because we don't want again pay new license and also pay for new hardware because it's cost a lot, and we do some kind of migration to Kubernetes, and also this not Kubernetes, sorry, to clouds. I'm sorry, to cloud, AWS or Google Cloud, or yeah, it's I think it's not important, and I think all scenarios what I saw is all the time put to DevOps guys or operations teams. Okay, guys, you have in your hands. We believe in you. Move it. Yes, and send me deadline. It's more important. Send me deadline when it will be migrated to the cloud. And operations guys or DevOps guys start do their best, and I know after I think like half or 1 year. We are in the situation like we have half system on the cloud, half system on the on-prem, and we don't see how to say light on the end of the tunnel when it will be ready. So again, I will ask you what is your advice how to do it better, this kind of migrations. Good question.
It's a good question.
So I have two answers. One is theoretical. It's called theory of constraints.
It can be theoretical. It's just
Yeah.
like brainstorming.
So every company has a bottleneck or constraint, and this bottleneck is blocking the company from getting better. And the worst thing is that if they have bottleneck but they are not aware of it, so if they are improving the critical chain somewhere else than on the bottleneck, they are doing no impact. So that's in theory. Practical, it's basically the same, but the thing is that there should be some metrics first. So I like the test-driven development approach. So you first write some way how to get the report about how much money you are getting, how much money you are paying, and what is the pain in the customer, pain in the developers, and so on, or operations. And then you need to measure the changes over time. And if you have this, you can start making changes, and then you can ask this crystal ball that you created, is it getting better or not? And then if it's measured properly, you can find out that it has improved or not. And there is still a risk that this metric are not accurate, and but the effort of constantly improving on this one, on measuring and then improving the infrastructure and the migration to the cloud and anything else, gives you much better visibility or observability of the things. So the company is like the system, and you cannot do changes in the system if you don't know the system, how it's working. So first know your system.
Yeah, but maybe my point was the reason why I cannot see why I think the companies don't see the light on the end, because they are again they start with migration, and I think it's maybe from my point of view the problem, it's not the main goal of the company to do this migration. And also again,
migration is not a goal in itself. It's what do we want to achieve
yes.
in this migration? Do we want to save money?
Exactly.
Do we want to scale up better? Do we want better security, better CI/CD? These are the questions we want to achieve. And I can tell a story, it's not my story, but the Kubernetes story, how it became so popular. I don't know if you know it, but do you know the game Pokemon Go?
Yes.
Yes, everybody knows it. So do you know that Pokemon Go was one of the first real-life example of Kubernetes? Because when they released Pokemon Go in, I think it was Australia at the time, we were expecting an X number of players. And the game is so popular. In a day, they got 10x players. And they were worried. Like, our servers cannot handle it. It's like 10 times the amount we expected. We were ready for maybe 2 times, 10 times. But Google told them, don't worry, you're in Kubernetes. Like that, the servers were scaling up and they could handle the load. And it was a proof case, a POC of how Kubernetes can handle scale up and scale down. And that is one of the reasons why it became such a popular tool. So I think it's important to define the goals of why we want to move the cloud. Do we want to move to the cloud because it's a buzzword? Then you have you're doing the wrong choice here. But do you want to save money? We can show you how new services are saving money by proving it to you. Do you want CI/CD? Cool, we'll build a new CI/CD to the cloud, you can use it. Let's find the reasons how you want to scale. It's always more comfortable staying in the existing infrastructure. But if we can prove to you that it will be better, maybe it's worth the effort in the long run.
Okay, guys, so I don't have any other questions. And on the end, in my podcast, everyone asks on the end some sentence or thought he would like to share with other.
Okay, you go first.
So my biggest mistake is that I didn't make any record of the mistakes, and I keep forgetting them. So if you are listening and you did a mistake, just write it down, because you never know when it will be like a good talk and topic for future listeners.
Like it.
So that's my sentence.
I think the thing I learned most from all the mistakes is always be communicative, because even when you are making a mistake, as long as people know what you were intending to do, they will forgive you.
Okay, guys, thank you to be there today. I really enjoy my This is my first podcast in English. My English is horrible, so I'm sorry for it. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.